Alright, I'm gonna be honest. I really wanted to make a video today. I don't know why, I just had the itch to do it. And so, I just had my fantasy football draft last night. And so I decided, why not I just talk to you about my fantasy football team? Because, I don't know, maybe you'll find what I have to say interesting. I don't know. I just thought it might be fun. And everyone just clicked off the video. No, I'm kidding. But this is. I had the sixth pick in a 14 team league, in a half PPR league, where quarterback touchdowns are worth 6 points as opposed to, I believe, the usual 4. So, yeah, this was also done on Yahoo, by the way. So, let's just get into it. With my first pick, 6 overall, I knew I wanted to get my team mascot. So typically what I do is the first player I draft, I name my team after them. Well, I had this guy last year. He fell to me to like 12, and he ended up doing really well for me. So I figured, why not grab him again? CeeDee Lamb is my team mascot. And so I kept my team name from last year. Do you CeeDees TDs? Very stupid, yes, I know. In the second round, at 23 overall, sorry, I knew I needed to get a running back. However, the running back I wanted went one pick before. Kyren Williams. I wanted Kyren Williams so bad. But unfortunately, he went one pick earlier. So I decided to settle with the next best option, and I decided to go with Jonathan Taylor. I feel pretty decent about that pick. Taylor is very productive, and with the quarterback situation there right now in Indy, they're probably going to be checking down a lot, and they're going to be running a lot. So I feel pretty good about that pick. My third round pick I don't feel as great about, but I still feel pretty good about it. James Cook. He just got an extension. I would have liked to potentially get a guy like James Conner or Alvin Kamara, but I did feel like it was a bit too early for that. So ultimately, I decided to go with James Cook. I thought that I would get the best value out of that. In the fourth round, I knew I needed another receiver. I typically tend to draft my quarterbacks late, and you'll see what I mean later. So in the fourth round, there wasn't anyone I was super interested in. I think George Pickens is the best guy on the board at this point. So I ultimately decided to go with Zay Flowers. And obviously I didn't want George Pickens because I already had CeeDee Lamb. So I ultimately decided to go with Zay Flowers just because he was the number one guy. And he does tend to do pretty decent. But in all honesty, I might look to trade him at some point. In the fifth round, again, not a ton of guys were left. So I just decided to go with a guy who I knew I could put in the flex position, that being Courtland Sutton. Courtland Sutton, he's still the number one guy in Denver, and he did pretty alright last year. I mean, I was a Courtland Sutton owner last year, and he did alright for me, so I decided, you know what, take a chance on him this year. In the sixth round, I didn't love any of the receiver options, I'm going to be honest. So I decided to take a flyer on a tight end. I went with Travis Kelce in this spot. He was still available. There were a lot of other tight ends taken before him. Mark Andrews was taken the pick before, or like a few picks earlier. But there was another tight end. I forget who it was, though. There was a tight end taken right before me, and it wasn't Travis Kelce. I think it was Tucker Kraft. I think Tucker Kraft was taken right before Kelce. So, I mean, I know Kelce wasn't the best last year, but if he can, you know, if he and Mahomes can reconnect, that is going to be an excellent pick. In the 7th round, I mean, again, there weren't a ton of guys left. This is a pretty deep league, 14 teams for crying out loud. So I decided to take a flyer on a rookie. In all honesty, I probably would have gone for Matthew Golden in this spot, the Packers rookie receiver, but he went 4 picks earlier, so I had to settle with the next best option at that time, and that I decided was Travis Hunter. Now, Travis Hunter I feel pretty good about, because he, of course, can play both sides of the ball. He plays both corner and he plays receiver. So I believe if he gets an interception, I believe that'll also add to his total. So that'll help. Now, in the 8th round, I didn't feel too great about my pick here, but I definitely needed another running back. So, ultimately, as I said, there weren't a ton of guys left. I decided to go with Najee Harris just because, Najee Harris, he's usually pretty reliable at times. Plus, I think it'll be a committee there in LA. I know he has his injury right now, but it sounds like he has a good chance to play in week 1. And if not, he shouldn't be out for too long. Plus, as I said, I'm expecting it to be a committee over there between Hampton and Harris. So, admittedly, probably wasn't the best value at that spot, but there weren't really a ton of guys left that I really wanted. On top of that, it was thin pickings for running backs at that point, and I knew I needed a 3rd guy because of the bye weeks. So Najee was just, the least bad option. In the 9th round, admittedly, this was a mistake. I did not mean to pick the guy I picked here. I picked Chris Godwin. I know he's hurt, so, I'll probably stick him on the IR slot for now. But, he could be good late season. I might trade him. I'll probably trade him. I don't know how much value I'll get out of him, but I'll at least look for a trade. Jordan Love. I got Jordan Love in the 10th round at pick 135. In all honesty, I couldn't believe it. I tend to get my quarterbacks late, but admittedly this year I definitely waited a bit longer than I should have. I normally wait until the 8th round. I waited a bit longer this time because, all the quarterbacks that I really would have liked were gone at that point. I had got, for whatever reason, I tend to always end up with Jared Goff. I have Jared Goff in both my other leagues. Jared Goff went right after I picked Godwin. And then, obviously guys like Allen, Mahomes, Burrow, even Kyler Murray, those guys were gone at this point. Jordan Love was honestly the best option on the board, and I'm surprised guys like Dak Prescott went before Jordan Love. But yeah, I got Jordan Love at pick 135. I feel pretty good about that pick. I really do. I think Jordan Love is in a pretty good spot to succeed. He has a good head coach in Matt LaFleur. Packers just got him a wide receiver. Josh Jacobs is an excellent running back if he ever needs a check down. I feel pretty good about that pick, but that's just me. In the 11th round, I didn't know what else to really do, so I just took a flyer on Darnell Mooney. At this point, these guys are going to be bench players. They're depth pieces. And so, I took Darnell Mooney. He's, I believe, isn't he the 2nd receiver over there in Atlanta? So, I can plug him in on a bye week. Maybe he'll get me 10 points. I'd be pretty pleased with that, but other than that, I don't expect him to do much on my team. In the 12th round, I decided to pull the trigger. I took a kicker. I didn't love any of the options available. So I was the first one to pull the trigger and take a kicker. But it's okay, because I got the best kicker in the league. I got Chris Boswell. So my team is already an instant S tier. I had to get my Steeler player in there. What can I say? I had to get my Steeler in there. In the 13th round, I didn't love any of the options. I hated them all, actually. So I just took a flyer on Quentin Johnston in hopes that maybe this is the year that he doesn't drop everything. I know that they I know they have obviously Keenan Allen is there, Lad McConkey is there, and they have another guy. They have a really tall guy. I think his name. What's his name? Harris, like Traquan Harris, something like that. I don't even know. I mean, he might pass up Quentin Johnston in the depth chart later this year. I don't know. As I said, I just took a flyer on him because you never know. In the 14th round, I just wanted another running back. And the 49ers do tend to have a committee. So I just went with Isaac Guerendo, just, in case both McCaffrey and Brian Robinson Jr. both go down. I don't know. Guerendo, he's a depth piece, as I said. San Francisco's defense I pick up in the 15th because I didn't have a defense at this point. San Francisco was probably the best one available. Plus, I think San Francisco's defense could be pretty decent this year. They got Robert Saleh back, Nick Bosa is still a monster, Fred Warner, of course. They still have talent there. And then in the last round, I picked up Cam Ward because I needed backup quarterback. And Cam Ward was really the best one available. It was either him or, someone like Aaron Rodgers. But, Cam Ward, I mean, if he does well, his value is going to be really high, so I can probably look to trade him at some point. And I think that'll be nice. So getting him in the last round, I was definitely happy with that. But, yeah, that's it for the draft. Yahoo graded me an A+. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. But they have me going 11-3. Again, not sure if I agree with that. Because my bye weeks, they're not as spread out as I would like it to be. But yeah, you can see right there. It might be a little hard to see, but A+ grade. I mean, that's just what I have for me. I mean, that's pretty much it. Maybe I'll make occasional update videos to my fantasy team. Tell you what I did. I don't know. If that's something you're interested in seeing, let me know. I don't care. Don't die.